Well, hello everyone, for the final time for this Revolutionary Girl Utena discussion series where me and Kyle Entertainment are watching through all of Revolutionary Girl Utena. We started from episode 1 of the anime, well, the anime series, I guess. And this time we are talking about Revolutionary Girl Utena, the Adolescence of Utena, or I think it's called something roughly around those lines. And we are both, for the first time, watching this for the first time. So, yeah, go introduce yourself, Kyle.
How does it feel to have finally finished Revolutionary Girl Utena for the first time, Elite Ari?
Oh my god, it feels the same because, like, the movie is very distinct from the show, I guess. So it's like, oh, you know, I did feel like I did finish it.
That's like your opinion.
True, that is a good point. We can talk about it, but, yep. So we're here to talk about it. Kyle, what did you know about this movie going into it?
What did I know? I had seen like 2 screenshots, which were our 2 main ladies, and they looked a little different, Elite Ari. My goodness gracious me.
Mm-hmm. All right, very
good. That's all I saw, because one of them is on like the letterbox thing, and the one of them I think I saw when I was trying to get a media image for my great media checklist last time.
Yep. Okay, I think I had seen basically this whole movie. I was waiting for a certain scene to happen that I thought I'd seen. Turns out it wasn't in the movie, so I guess I just made it up. So
true.
Yeah.
I swear this happened to me one time recently.
Yeah, I'm sure it has, but yeah, basically I didn't know. I knew that it was very distinct, basically, but you know, beyond that, didn't really know much. But
wait, what was the scene?
It was a scene where like everything was crumbling down, and there was like an Anonymous was a cow, and she was like flying in the air, and it was like this whole thing. And I'm like, I guess maybe it was like from a video game or something. I don't even know.
No, that's Neon Genesis Evangelion, the movie End of Evangelion, where everything comes tumbling down.
True. All right. Well.
Oh, man.
Let's just get into it then. What did you think about this movie?
What, I gotta go? Why do I always gotta go first?
Well, you're the new person here, unless you want me to be the final person who goes first.
Yeah. Ladies first. You can be the prince today, okay, Elite Ari?
Wow.
Which sad news for you means we're gonna fucking kill you, Elite Ari. But that's alright. We're all okay with that one. Elite Ari, this movie was gay as hell, Elite Ari. Could you believe it?
Well, yeah, I could definitely.
Oh. This is the gayest movie I've seen since Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Okay. And you like that movie a lot.
And they even sketched each other. Elite Ari.
Yeah, there was a lot of nudity in this, yeah. But not like real nudity.
Well, not really, you know. No nipples, Elite Ari. I know you were
There was a lot of artistic nudity, you know, like Chainsaw Man.
I wanted to put the thing from the very end of the movie where they were naked on the bike as my media checklist, but then I said, somebody's going to get mad at me. They're going to open this at the doctor's office, and they're going to get... So I changed it to just Anthe. Now, Elite Ari, let me tell you something. Who knew Anthe could be such a great character?
Yeah, it's interesting. She's very different in this.
She's got a personality. You ever heard of one of those, Elite Ari?
I have, yeah.
You should invest in one.
Ah, that's very funny.
No, lots of different things, Elite Ari. I think it was a great movie. It was. I tentatively gave it 5 stars and a 10 out of 10 on my anime list. And
oh my god. Holy, you love this. Do you love it like as much as the show, more than the show, or just
yes, I said this is just like the show that I really like, and those got the same score, so this one must also.
Wow.
But I will say, the ending really, I was liking the ending a lot, so it left me with a good feeling. Because halfway through, I was like, I should probably be enjoying this, but maybe I'm a bit of sleepy, you know?
Yeah.
But then the ending happened, and we liked the ending.
Yeah, for context for everyone, Kyle fell asleep midway through, and he had to go and take a break.
No, I didn't fall asleep midway through. I paused it to take a little nap, Elite Ari.
Yeah, okay. Wonderful. That's good to hear.
Elite Ari just character assassinated me. He wants it to make it look like I'm always watching movies in little segments, like a uncultured loser, but that's actually what Elite Ari does, so...
It is true. Sometimes I do that, but I do it with intention sometimes, you know, not just randomly falling asleep midway through, so what can I say? But... Okay, that's good to hear. Do I give what I think now?
Give an opinion, Elite Ari. Well, let's see if you're going to make this an interesting discussion or a boring one. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's probably going to be interesting because we're probably going to disagree on a lot of things. But I love this movie. This is a great movie. I imagine I'd like it for a very different reason to you. And I think we have already, based on what you've said, I think we have very different interpretations of what the point of this movie was. But... It was very funny because, like, what I say about Utena, the TV show, is that, like, I really don't know what's going on there, but, like, I love it. Like, it's great. But I could not possibly give you a nice accounting of, like, all the stuff that is happening and a nice reading of all the themes and stuff. This movie, I was watching
Even though I literally explained it to you last
Exactly,
time.
Yes. I know you tried your best, okay? And not a single commenter tried to explain it. You know, if you're listening right now, please, now's your chance to explain stuff to us. But anyway, I watched this movie, and at the beginning I was like, oh my god, this is like even more confusing than the show, which is impressive. Like I basically had absolutely no idea what was happening. And then, like in the last like second act or whatever, like toward the end of the movie, I figured it out. I'm like, oh my god, it all clicks in place and I understand it, and this is like this makes perfect sense. So it makes way more sense than the show ever did. So after that, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I was getting emotionally invested, and this is a fantastic movie. I like this a lot. So
it was just the same thing again, Alita.
It is interesting because I took something that I didn't even really think about in the previous show that is the whole point of this movie. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And then I looked at the Wikipedia page for this movie, and there's like a whole section on like themes and stuff. And the thing that is obviously the point of the movie is like not really there. It's like a section. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. So yeah, but
I believe Wikipedia over you. I'll tell you what now, Alita.
Yeah.
It is interesting. This is a little bit of a rebuild of Evangelion / Spider-Man situation, Alita. This is my favorite talking point. Well, you're kind of doing the same story again a little bit, but you are changing things and highlighting certain things. And there's like little added things where it's like, I wasn't so sure about the ending of this character last time, but this time it made me more optimistic about it. So that was interesting. And I guess the only example I have really of that is all of the student council members saying that they were going to try and follow afterwards, because remember last time they were all stuck back there. So that was like the thing that stood out to me the most. It's like, oh, don't worry everybody, they're going to get their perfectly happy ending too soon.
Yep.
So and there are other things, there are some things that are just completely different, Alita, but they kind of end up meaning the same thing.
I think to me, like, saying familiar but different is like the best way to describe this movie. There is a lot of like even just musical similarities, visual similarities, but they are like different in the way they are like executed or whatever. Which is interesting. And yeah, like you said, like, well, not like you said, because you didn't really touch on this, but to me, it's like all the characters are also kind of a bit different. Even just like visually, but also like, more, I think, more character-wise as well, which is cool. Yeah. So it's familiar.
It is true, but they're like points are still the same.
Yeah, probably. Now, okay, we can probably talk about this because this is going to be the center of everything I want to talk about, so we can see if you actually think this is true or not. There is a core set of like 4 characters that are the center of this movie, and like everything revolves around them. I'm curious if you picked up on this, but I guess I can just say what I think, which is that you've got
Utena, Anthe, Toga, and who would the 4th one?
Actually, I guess it would be 5 then. I didn't even think about Anthe. True.
Oh my god, Juri and Sayonji.
No, it's obviously Utena, Anthe, Toga, Juri, and Shiori. These are obviously essentially,
true. Shiori was in it a lot.
Yeah, like essentially this movie to me is entirely about either the concept of moving on or the concept of moving on from trauma. Like these are the things that are at the center of like everything. Where it's like you have Anthe, who in this is very clearly abused by her brother, the Lord of Flies, as they say in this, where she like rewrites him to be a prince in her memories, and this is all like made very explicit here in like the things she's saying, more so than the show ever did. And then you've got like obviously that's her trauma with the rape by her brother and everything. You have
lots of raping going on, Alita. I'll tell you that much.
That is very true. Then you've got Utena.
Toga got a Casca scene. Literally.
Huh? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Casca gets raped. Well, actually, Griffith saves her from getting raped in the middle of a farm field.
Yes.
But, it was pretty much the same.
That is true. But Utena has the trauma of concerning Toga's death, like in the past. That's the thing she's trying to get past in this movie. And
true,
she does get
he was the guy from that parable at the end of the show, Alita. Could you believe it?
Yeah, it was
freaking drowned.
It was kind of crazy. Yeah, oh my goodness.
I figured it out right before they revealed it too, so I felt very smart.
I did not figure it out. So I figured it out when the water was rising up, and I'm like, oh my god, the
water came, and I said the water showed up, and I was like, oh my god, I was right. I'm a genius.
Oh my god. But true. Yes, Toga, Utena. So basically, yeah, Anthe and Utena, they both had the trauma and they both move on from the trauma. And at the same time, you've got Shiori, who is the one person who's basically their antithesis. She's the person who's trying to drag everyone to stay behind.
What an evil, no good bitch.
Pretty much. She is the thematic opposite, right? She is the person trying to forever, like, drag Juri down and make sure she remembers the trauma forever. At the end, she tries to make sure that Anthe doesn't escape. And, like, obviously Shiori is the thematic, like, opposite of, like, moving on.
True, they all became cars, Alita. That was like,
yeah, indeed. Chase. That is true. It is pretty crazy. I love that scene. But this is the whole thing in this movie, which is way more explicit than I think ever was in the show, and I think is the whole point of the movie for me. And it is really interesting because like every bit of dialogue is like framed through this, which is strange because Toga doesn't like basically everything Toga says in this movie. If you know he's dead, like you reframed a different way. Like And also the fact that you know that in the past, like if he was also a victim of trauma and like his dad raping him and all that, that like talks about why he's at this school and he's like, I'm a duelist now because of like what my father he says something about his father and that's why I'm a duelist now. I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. Like this school is a place for people with trauma, and getting out of the school is like finding a way to get past it, or at least taking a step forward away from it. So all of this was, I thought, really interesting. And
also,
me,
there's like the thing where it's like Nanami always said he like changed very dramatically at some point, but in the original show, it's kind of like, is she just perceiving that like type thing? But it was like it was like, are we filling in details here? Are we changing things? It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, Nanami wasn't in this. Isn't that crazy? I mean, she was a cow, I guess.
True.
But yeah, like when
she was Nanami the Great Cow with her bell, but it is true. What is, I kind of touched on it, but what is and isn't focused on is interesting, where Nanami and Chuchu are both there in that funny, what do you call it, fake tape or whatever that the Shadow Girls have.
Yep.
Then there were other things in there. It was like all the things that we didn't really have time for, but we wanted to shout out real quick.
Yeah, the fanboys. So there's elephants. It was crazy.
Yeah. True. The fanboys are there. Yes.
Yep.
But yes, that was funny. There's no time for comedy in this movie, Alidori.
That's right, except for that one scene in the middle, roughly, which was great.
True.
Yeah, but yeah. Now, what do you have anything you want to go from here? Because I have like a bunch of random notes, but
well, I guess generally the overall thing was I think this is just me reading into the toga stuff too much, but I was like, oh, so it's like purgatory. That's the point of the school. But I don't, maybe not, because obviously Toga is dead. But I guess you think he was like imaginary when she was talking to him, which probably fits because I don't think anybody else talks to him in the movie. Well, I was just everybody here is dead.
I don't agree with that because Shiori's talking to him and Utena's talking to him.
True, they were kissing and stuff.
Yeah, I think everyone I think this is somehow, I don't know how, Kyle, we have this massive disagreement between us, but I don't think there is a literal like school. Like this isn't definitely not a real place.
Then how come we saw the teachers?
Well, we didn't in the movie. Wait, did we see them in the movie?
That's true.
I don't remember, but.
Well, maybe actually there was one doing. The sketch teacher was telling him something.
Yeah, maybe in the first scene. I don't remember.
He said it's a beautiful. No, that was in the middle.
Oh, in the middle.
And it's a beautiful day outside, so go and draw.
Yeah.
But no, there was no lady making fun of Utena for wearing a boy's outfit this time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
True.
I don't
have
like a. Well, you were saying, he's imaginary.
Purgatory.
Yeah. True.
No. I was saying you were saying he was imaginary.
No, but no.
Not. But true, because that makes sense. But purgatory is just another instance or another idea that revolves around this being trapped idea. And also it's called adolescence, Alidori. So that reinforces what we were talking about last time. These people, they got to grow up. And also, it was kind of different because I thought it was leading up to like, well, Utena's becoming like a tool or a cool car for Anthe to get out of here. So it's like last time where she sacrificed herself so Anthe could get out of here. Mm-hmm. But then it seems like they both got out of there anyway, and what a happy ending.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
That
was a little different.
Isn't it kind of crazy that like Utena got turned into a car? Like it's such a random thing, isn't it? I mean, it's probably not random, but like, yeah.
It's a cool ending sequence, Alidori.
Yeah, like
I thought she was becoming a mech.
Well, so did I, and it was she like gets sucked into the car wash, and then we get like Evangelion like visuals with like all these screens and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, she's like turning into like some big Evangelion thing. But no, it was a car, and it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? This is like, I could imagine people thinking this is goofy, but it's like the coolest thing ever.
There were car shots at like the beginning, like when Juri and Miki are like walking through the scary end, like dark place. There's like some cars, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna get that cool car song from that original show. I don't think that one actually ever came back, but that's where I thought it was going. But then it turns out we are transforming into cars at the end of Leary.
That's right.
That was a Shiori car, and the car that the student council were on said Wakaba on the front.
Did it really? I did not notice that.
Yeah,
that's great.
I don't know why, but it did. So,
well, it would mean that cool. she is the one shepherding them, like the fact that Utena's car said Utena on it, and Shiori said Shiori. So I don't know.
But why would Wakabi be with the student council people?
Because she has, I don't know actually, but who knows? She has interacted with Sayun. She obviously liked him at some point, and
except not in this movie. That was another. It's like which details true. Are we leaving out? We left that one out, but her onion boy was still there.
That is true. They were drawing each other in that drawing thing, and I was like, oh, that's like super cute. So we love that.
Yeah, because that's why Utena got to do it with Anthe.
Yep.
But like, I don't think we see Kosei at any point, right?
Wait,
so
what? What are you talking about? What about the naked bath she has with her brother?
Oh, that is true. That is true. But we didn't get much focus on it, I guess.
That is
my
true.
point. And it's like with the jury stuff, we focused only on Shiori a little bit. And like Miki didn't get a duel. And so there was interesting stuff there. So it's like, what parts we keep and what parts aren't we keeping, Illyri? You never know. And we don't get a final duel. We got a car chase, Illyri. So get your mind out of the gutter there.
Yep.
But true.
Amen.
Illyri, we didn't even talk about all the character changes yet.
Yeah, we can talk about them. So I guess visually, Utena straight up completely different like character design almost. Like hair is like
short hair like a boy.
Yeah, hair is short. I don't like it at all one bit. I guess that's probably the point though.
But it grows when she has cool moments, literally.
It does, yeah. And at the whole last sequence, she has long hair. But yeah, she has hair, different hair. She's wearing a hat, a very ugly hat that I don't like. And a different uniform, I guess. But yeah, Utena looks different.
She looked more lesbian, Illyri. That's the freaking point. And
what is that? Like more like masculine? What do you mean by lesbian?
She's got short hair. She's got an ugly hat, obviously.
Is that a thing? Is that like a lesbian trope that you have an ugly hat? What is that?
What I thought when I saw it.
Okay, it didn't even cross my mind.
It is. I mean, there's a few different directions. Obviously, Anthe and Utena are very different characters, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And again, when they're reduced down, they're kind of the same thing. But even so, like, Anthe is the best part of this movie by far. Like the fact that she's like teasing and she has a personality. That's like my favorite part of the whole movie.
I probably do agree. Yeah.
Utena's interesting enough. She's more like stoically sad. They took all the Goku out of her, which is kind of the defining thing. Yeah, she's not like funny. She's not like what do you call it? How do you describe it? Aloof is probably how I would describe it. That's all gone. So that's kind of interesting. Well,
the thing is, it's like she has a completely different motivation. Like it's not even similar to the show at all, unless I'm like there's some abstract layer I'm missing. But like it is this whole thing is all about her trauma with Toga when he drowned. Whereas in the show, there's like nothing like that. Like her parents died, I guess. It could be about her parents maybe in the show. But there's really nothing.
Well, she came to find her prince in both.
Yeah, that is true. But finding a prince in the last show kind of meant like individuality in my mind, like retaining who she is. Whereas like in this show, finding a prince means like finding your way out of like, or moving on, like finding someone to help you move on or whatever, like finding Anthe who is able to understand the things you've gone through and also kind of move forward with you. So it's a bit different to me. But I mean, there's probably like, I don't have a good grasp of themes of the series, so maybe it does tie in well to this movie. So yeah, I don't know, but true, they're different.
And Toga was very different too. He was much more like stoic.
Yeah.
Sayunji was reduced down to just being a very mean guy leader. He was still hitting out Anthe, and we didn't like that very much. And
that is true. At the end, he had a great thing there. He's like, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna seduce you. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
True, later. Don't worry, he's gonna do it the great Sayunji.
That's
then,
right.
Juri and Miki were mostly the same. Miki's hair was a little longer.
Yeah, Miki looked different, but I couldn't tell if it was the hair. I know in the butts I've seen Kozue was like cutting his eyebrows or something. So I was like, oh, are his eyebrows different? But he definitely did look different.
The hair was a little longer.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But everybody else was mostly Wakaba was still Wakaba, even though she wasn't in it too much.
Yeah.
Shiori was as evil as ever, Illyri.
Shiori, I think, was completely different. Well, not completely different. She obviously still has the attachment to... She has all of the hate for Juri, but none of the, like, love for Juri, which I think is a bit different. But it could be because she's not really a focus. Like, she isn't a character in this more so than she is, like, an opposition to an ideal, or, like, a theme. So, like, we don't get, like, a Shiori scene where, like, it's about her. It's mostly about Toga in those scenes. So, I don't know. She's different, but, like, I think it's a different character.
Is still the #1 playboy in town.
True. Well...
And that kind of... What, something to say, Illyri?
I mean, not really, right? He's just, like what do we see him do?
He was fucking Sayuri.
Well, they implied, like, sex with Shiori. But there is at the same time, like, we don't really get much of him beyond that. Like, we get him standing ominously around, right? Like, he stands when Utena sees him for the first time, around, like, just in the distance or whatever, and then they talk.
And the ladies are never screaming for him. They're screaming for Juri.
Like, we get a scene with him and Shiori, like, the in the bed. Like, we have
That's because this is a lesbian movie. We can't have the girls liking a boy in this movie. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe. That's probably a big part of it.
That's for that original show, for the normies. We're on the real show now. That's movie. Right.
Yep.
But true, that brings us to our last pretty big difference, Illyri, and that was Akio.
Yeah, he is like, I mean, I feel like this is a representation of Akio that is probably more like, I don't know how to say it. It's not contemporary or like more like the mask is no longer there really. I think like we get a few scenes of him. Like we get, unless I'm misremembering something, but I think we get him on the phone once with Toga, and I think he's just talking about the backstory with the prince and how he was like the Lord of Flies or something like that. We get that scene. We get the scene where we get the tapes or whatever, and during the tapes it's like he's in a car, and then he does that. What does he say? He says something and like flips over the car, and it's like a little goofy. Do you remember that? You know what I'm talking about?
Is it something about a key or
no? He goes like whoosh or something, and like does a flip over the car. He does it like 3 times.
It wasn't as cool as last time when he used to sit on the front of the car.
No, I think that's the point. That's what I'm trying to say, which is that before it seemed like he had a mask of like trying to appear cool to like the adolescent people around him. This time it's like he is also probably still trying to seem cool, but it's like comes across as like goofy now because like we know he is the villain.
He seemed unhinged and crazy in this one.
Well, yeah. Well, then he goes and tries to or does rape his sister, and then it's like, oh, this guy's a bit really crazy here, like explicitly so.
But no, the real crazy stuff. He was looking for his keys and he was freaking out, and then he jumped off that thingy and killed himself, I think.
Yeah. Do you have like an idea of what was going on with the key like metaphor? Because I don't really have an idea.
Because Utena was the key. Oh no, her rose thingy was the key.
True.
So, he was all alone and selfish, and that's why he didn't have a key. And that's why you got to love the Rose Bride, and that's why life is good for Utena and Anthe in the real world now.
Maybe. I kind of understand what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I came up with that on the spot.
Yeah. But Akira, true, he's different. And he is the final villain. He shows up at the end, and it's like, oh my god, there he is standing.
True, I was thinking maybe he wasn't going to show up at some point, but then he was.
He's the final trauma to get past.
Well, yeah, he wanted to take him back, and that wasn't very nice. And Anthe said, "Fuck off."
That's right.
And then she ran him over or something.
She said, give me the power to revolutionize the world. And I was like, oh my god, that's the thing. They said the thing. And they
said that, and that's when Utena came back, and she wasn't a car anymore.
Yep. It was awesome.
Wow, that was pretty cool.
Yep.
You know who they didn't cut out of this movie, Elitery?
I would say everyone, right? Who was not in the movie?
The Shadow Girls.
Oh, true. They were a massive part of this movie, and it was awesome. I completely agree.
They got a radio show now, Elitery.
They do, and they have like a whole organization of like shadow clone people, like in this place with pink hair and an orange environment in a cube with like a microphone, and they're living inside the microphone. And it's like a broadcasting studio, and they're commentating a race. But it's just awesome. It's so, and then
true, but then they became straw girls, and they had little name badges, and they said Utena and Anthe.
Yeah, I think it had a few of the characters, or maybe it was just those two. I don't know, but yeah, it was. Yeah.
And also they all had pink hair at some point, so I don't know.
They're all Utena, of course, naturally.
Yep. Except for the Anthe one.
Even the Anthe one is Utena, because everyone is Utena. If you have pink hair, you're Utena. Or you're Nemuro or whatever, Mikage.
Everything is Devilman, Eliter. You just said that's crazy.
True. Even the elevator was in this. We had everything. All the important visual motifs were in this movie.
True, there was the elevator going down.
And it turned pink. Can you believe it? She like went through the conversation with Toga, and he comes back and the elevator's pink. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. I don't know why it's cool, but it's cool.
They just knew how much of a missed opportunity it was never having Utena have a little elevator scene, so they made it just for the movie. Wait, Eliter, we didn't talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't talk about what? That's what you're supposed to say.
Didn't talk about what?
What is it? A sequel? Is it a retelling, Eliter? You gotta weigh in on this debate I know nothing about.
Well, what do you think?
It was probably a retelling, Eliter. He didn't seem like a sequel to me. Unless, like, remember when Akio said, we'll just do it again, and he was making new letters or something?
True.
Maybe this was that world. But Anthe left.
Yeah. I think there's two possible readings in my mind. One of them is that it is just an independent kind of story with different focus, and even the characters are different characters, like almost literally. Which is fine. I think that's probably my dominant view of it. But it is also possible that this is like a continuation of the story where it's not taking place right after the events of Utena, the TV show, but it's taking place after a lot of people have kind of gone through the process that Utena has gone through. And maybe this that we're seeing is like what happens when you step outside of the school. So all the people who are here are people who eventually at some point throughout history, eventually graduate from the school. And then you have your next step, which is now that you've made your first step out of the whatever the issue you have, now you gotta actually process it or whatever. And this is the next stage of that until you're finally free of it. Which would kind of fit a little bit. I don't know, but I would probably lean toward the it's completely independent thing though. What do you think?
True, that's what I be saying.
Yeah, okay, good.
Except, I don't know, maybe there's going to be a great YouTube video that puts it all together for us.
It is true.
Another thing we didn't talk about yet, Alita.
Yep.
Visually, it was like a movie, so more things were moving.
That is true. I think it was mainly the backgrounds, like the environments were much more complex and constantly shifting and stuff. And
true, at the beginning, there was a lot of whiteboards in there.
Yeah, like everything was moving. Like the architecture was moving around the school, the
True, it was like Harry Potter.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of like it's like Madoka Magica the movie where they had that scene.
Oh, that was one of my great notes, Alita.
Oh, really? My goodness.
Lots of Madoka-esque stuff, I thought. This was my third note.
Yeah, I wonder which came first. Probably the Utena movie, I'm guessing. But yeah.
Yeah, Madoka Magica sucks.
No, that's not true. It's really good. You made
it. Doesn't have any characters as cool as Auntie Himimiya from the hit TV series movie Adolescence of Utena.
Yeah, maybe. No, but it has Kyubey, this little animal.
Thank God Kyubey sucks. Choo-Choo would beat the fuck out of shitty Kyubey.
That's true.
Now let me tell you something, Alita. We've got oh, you suck. You made your tier list way too early because now I get to do it and I'll add movie characters to it too.
Yeah, are you gonna have multiple versions of the same character? You're gonna be like, this is my Utena movie, this is my Utena TV show, and you'll just do like a big giant tier list?
Utena movie B tier, Auntie TV show B tier, Utena TV show S tier, Auntie movie S tier, literally. Very easy.
Imagine pairing them together, like in an actual story.
It's like, I just thought about it's like that Dina video I made where I said they can't be mixed together because then they would ruin each other. They need to be with the you understand.
You need the dead-eyes Auntie next to the joyous, overwhelming, exciting Utena.
And the dead-eyed Utena next to the joyous Auntie.
That's right.
The sexually promiscuous Auntie, Alita. She fucks everybody out here. Can you believe this movie was so full of sex?
Yeah, it's like immediately she goes into Utena's room, which actually, that's another point I actually had, which is that everything is different visually except for the room. The room is like basically, at least from my memory, identical to the room that they had in the
But she doesn't live there, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, I guess not, yeah. But yeah, literally all the other visual stuff in the show is completely different. Like the arena is different. The place they actually like duel physically is different.
True, the Rose Garden is on the dueling arena.
Yeah, like there's no like sunlit garden. It is just the Rose Garden now with no like glass around it or whatever. Everything is different. But their bedroom, they kept that the exact same. So we love that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's like a safe space or something like that. But true. Auntie goes into that and then that room and immediately pushes Utena down into the bed or something like that. Or maybe it's the other way around, but true. It's crazy.
Something.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
And then there was like a zip the zip sound effect, Alita. My goodness.
Yeah, true. All right.
Then they got naked and sketched each other.
That's very true. Yep.
And then they got naked on the bike and their hair was flapping in the wind.
That's very true.
It was pretty cool.
And then they were dancing. What do you think about the dancing scene? That's actually something I'd heard of before, but I didn't like yeah, I'd never seen it or anything, but I definitely heard it was a dancing
right?
scene.
But I'm having a hard time picturing it.
I don't know, they just like danced in the roses.
The song was playing. Wasn't the OP playing when they were dancing?
No, I think the OP did play at some point, and it was really cool, and I think I have it in my notes, but it wasn't at the dancing scene. I think it was some other song then.
It was a different version of the OP, and then later a guy was singing like the chorus of the OP, so that was a little weird.
True. I mean, we can talk about the music. There's like, I think I have some notes on this. What did I say? Well, I said there's like a lot of new music, obviously. It's a movie. I'm sure they had some new music made for it. There's a lot of music from the show that has new renditions, which is kind of cool. Like the fact that, like what I just said, which is that like the sunlit garden doesn't exist in this, like physically, like there is no like garden that is surrounded by.
They play that song though.
Well, they don't. The thing is that they like initially for the first part of this movie, they don't play the sunlit garden song. They play a version of it that sounds different, but it is clearly the same song where it's like a different rendition of like the same song. But the core like the core thing that like Mickey is trying to capture when he's like playing it to Kozuo or like playing it to Auntie or whatever in the TV show is not happening at the beginning. But then I believe the first time we hear it properly is in the scene with Toga and Utena in the elevator, and we hear the proper Sunlit Garden song, and it's like, oh, it's back. Oh my god. So yeah, but that's a different.
And they played the song Alita. It queued for a second, but it was a different version.
The song.
Oh
yes, Absolute Destiny Apocalypse. They did play that, and it was an epic, like orchestral version or something. It was cool, despite the original one already being epic and orchestral.
Yeah, the first and third versions were better than this one.
True. No, actually, this one was really good. I like this one. I don't know which would.
Well, I didn't say it wasn't really good, Alita. I just said the first and the third one were better.
Well, you know what? You can make a nice tier list of ranking all the versions of this song. And
I'll make a ranking video.
Yep.
Top 50 anime OST. We'll see where it all lands.
Yep. Another thing visually that I have is that there were a lot of... okay, people are going to make fun of me because I'm probably going to use the wrong term here, okay? So please forgive me.
How embarrassing.
There were a lot of gothic paintings in this. Do you know what I mean?
True. The credits were epic, Elitery. Cool opening credits and song I have written down as my second note.
That is true.
And they were all there above the director. It had what, and then they came back later on.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking on the opening credits, it said that it was based on a manga. Did you see that bit?
True. Elitery, don't worry, I got the whole story. You want to hear it?
Yeah, please.
It's just that Evangelion thing where the manga started like 2 months earlier, but like obviously it got eclipsed after about 3 weeks because of the anime episodes that came out. But Elitery, a big difference between the Utena show and the Utena manga is that Toga and Utena are totally in love in the manga, which this movie seems to take an inspiration from. So that's maybe why they said that at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Or maybe the characterizations are more similar to the manga version. I don't.
How do you even know this?
Well, I read the Wikipedia last time, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because on the Wikipedia, it has all the things. It has like, soundtrack, a manga, film, something. Yeah. Then the film has its own Wikipedia page. I don't think the manga did. But the manga says, the manga's actually quite different. Mm-hmm. And then it had, the one thing it highlighted was Toga and Utena and their blossoming relationship. They were meant to be Elitery.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, you were saying something.
No, I just said, man, there's a lot of gothic paintings out there. And that's it.
True, and they're pretty cool.
They were pretty cool, especially like, I'm sure they have like, I didn't really try and interpret them or anything, but a lot of them were like Akio and Anthy.
They got the prince in them.
Yeah. The prince was in this at some point. I don't know what we
went to take him. He came down to beat Jury.
Oh, that was actually great. I had like a realization in that moment where I'm like, oh my God. And I have no idea if this realization applies to the show, but it definitely applies here. Which is that the whole time I was like, oh, I thought that in the show, whenever the prince would come down and like be manifested inside of Utena or whatever, and Utena would manifest the prince and go and like beat someone with the power of the prince, I thought it was a thing about like from Utena as a character thing for Utena. It's like, oh, she's like being that ideal that she wanted to be. It's like a kind of living out the ideal that she wanted to be when she was a kid. That's what I thought. I thought it was like an Utena character thing, but it's not. It's at least in this movie, it's not. What it is in the movie is it's a perception of Anthy seeing Utena become the prince that she wishes her brother was. And it's like the first sign of like seeing that there might be someone who could kind of help her get past the trauma of her brother. And it's like Anthy seeing the duel and Utena become the prince in the fight of that duel is what like pushes her even closer to Utena. It's just like a thing that I just hadn't even considered, that it was like a visual symbol from Anthy's perspective rather than Utena's. But maybe in the show it's like completely different, which is why I never thought of it that way. But in the movie, that's how I read it.
Well, she did.
Yeah.
She did react to it in this movie, Elitery, so that you got that supporting you. Now, also, she only became the prince in the second duels in both versions. That's kind of crazy, huh?
She became the... Say that again.
So when she fights Sayunji in the first time in the first show, she doesn't become the prince, but she does in the second one, right? Or maybe she does. She just doesn't have the sword until the second duel. I could be lying.
I don't know. I could not tell you. But you know what?
But
Let's just say it's true.
Parallel, that's crazy.
It's true because the show is genius and the movie is genius, and they thought of this. Okay, I agree.
We should have had this conversation 40 minutes ago, Elitery. We got some comments.
That's right. I'm sure we'll get so many comments. There is one more thing I know about this movie, which is only going to be relevant to you, and no one else is going to care listening right now. But
epic!
Do you know the YouTuber called Shabes or Caribou Coon or whatever?
Caribou Coon?
Yes.
Dash. There's a dash in there, Elitery. What about him?
I learned many years ago when I first watched Utena for the first time, I was like, oh, I wonder if he's like seen Utena or what he thinks about it. So I remember back then he has some website that he like ranks or like gives ratings to things, but it's not like a typical website. It's like some random thing I'd never heard of before, like some
he gave
like,
Kyle Entertainment the YouTube channel 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, he basically, my remembrance, I'm going back like 4 years now, so I could be completely misremembering, but my understanding was at the time that he gave the Utena show like a middling kind of rating where it was like fine or whatever, and he loved the movie. The movie was like great. So I think like that's that's for you, okay? For no one else.
The power of Anthy-Himimiya, Elitery.
True.
Just for my brief aside that's kind of similar to this, I saw on Letterboxd, Craftsdwarf gave this movie 2.5 stars. So I said, what's that all about?
That is kind of interesting. I wonder what. Yeah, I wonder why.
It's interesting. The movie, I think, has a 7 point something on Mal, but on Letterboxd, it had a 4.2. So, you know.
That's very good, yeah.
But, you know, they definitely love lesbians more on Letterboxd than they would on Mal. So that's understandable. Elitery.
Yes, very true. Yep. Okay. So, Wait,
Elitery, what a great transition, because I feel like we haven't talked about the lesbian thing enough yet, okay?
Yeah. All right. What do you want to say about it? This, I guess, I can start us off by saying that I remember when we talked about this last time. I think I was more a bit on the end of like it was more lesbian kind of focused, whereas you were more like, oh, that's actually the show's not really touching that at all or something. Is that
exactly?
accurate?
That's what I'm about to say, Leary.
Okay.
They weren't lesbians in the show, but they were in this movie. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine why that would be crazy to you. For me, it was less crazy because I thought they were in the show, but yeah.
Do you know? Because Utena's always like, I love guys. I don't like dumb girls. Every second, this dumb Utena is saying this. Now, in this movie, she didn't even pretend to say it once. Well, actually, I think she did say Toga was her princess.
Well, she was dating Toga
ignore
before
that,
they
Leary.
Yeah.
But she's obviously pushing Anthe away because, Anthe is just so sexy to her, Leary. She can't resist. And she's scared, right? But in this movie, my goodness, what a bunch of lesbians. And I liked it when they were lesbians, so...
Yeah, I agree. The romance stuff in it's not. I wouldn't describe it as romance. I guess maybe it is. The scenes.
It was the most romantic thing I've ever seen.
The intimate scenes were very good. I do like them. They were nice. They were fun to watch. They were like not fun. That's probably not the right word. Like when they're like drawing each other naked.
High school girls are fun to a leader. My goodness.
No. Oh, that was another question I had actually, which is that I couldn't tell. I guess the question was going to be I couldn't tell basically near the beginning of this. Because it's just so different. If Utena was meant to be the same age, or if she was like at university now or something. Because obviously the school looks different. No, this is an anime.
She's 13.
Well, the school looks different. The room at the beginning looks so much more like there's complex stuff on the blackboards and stuff. And they at the beginning they talk about, oh, let's go to the high, or we're at the high school now or something. And I was like, what? Where are we going to the high school? Like,
no, they said like what happened to the high school building or something. But I think it was just because Juri was dueling Miki. But they do say that Miki is in the first year of middle school or something, which just proves that him and Namami are the same age and that they were meant to be together.
I don't think they are the same age, but maybe they are.
They are.
Maybe. Yeah, so this was a question I had. I wasn't sure if it was like, oh, Utena's like an adult now. And also there are like subtle things, which I think it's probably just translation things. Like maybe it's different in the sub, but she was talking about like, oh, when we got separated or whatever, when she was talking about Toga. And I thought, oh, that's like a very like adult kind of word to use. Like you'd say like when we broke up or something if you were a kid. Or so it was like.
But she didn't mean break up. She meant literally they got separated because he got sold.
Yeah, I guess, true. Well, no, she didn't get not sold because he died. My goodness. Wait, what are you talking about?
Wait, no.
I'm talking about Utena, not Nanami. Yeah, he did die.
Because Toga said that he got sold or something at some point.
Yeah, we can talk about the story. So my understanding is that
got sold too.
Yeah, this is in line with the show actually, surprisingly, which is that Nanami and Toga were like orphans, right? And then they got adopted by the same family is what happened. And I think that we had that whole storyline in the show where it was like, oh, you're not my real brother because we don't have photos since we were younger or whatever, but actually you are my real brother because we got adopted by the same people or whatever.
Their blood types were different.
Yeah. Now, in this movie, the implication is that they were orphans as well, but they must have got adopted by different people. Like
who is they, Elitari? Nanami's a cow in this movie, you idiot.
That is true. In that tape, she is a cow. But maybe there is also a human Nanami, which would have been Toga's sister.
No.
But yeah, what happens in this movie is that Toga gets purchased or like is adopted by a parent, like a dad, who clearly rapes him or like abuses him somehow. I guess we don't really see it, but it looks a lot like rape. And that's his like backstory. And then his actual event of like what happens with his life is that he dates Utena. There's like a whole thing going on where it's like, very clearly, Shiori obviously likes Toga, but at the same time, Utena is dating Toga while Shiori loves Toga. And then one day, Juri is obviously on a boat and she falls out, and then Utena sees her fall. And
wait,
Toga,
Juri was in the boat?
Well, that's the whole point. That's why Shiori is so attached with this whole thing, which is that Juri is the one who drowns.
Oh yeah, she does monologue about that earlier, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so all like I'm saying, these four, I guess also Anthe, but these four characters specifically, Toga, Utena, Juri, Shiori, they're all entangled in the core of this movie, which is all surrounding this incident with Juri falling off the boat, and then Utena not being able to swim, I'm guessing, or not wanting to swim, but most likely she couldn't swim, and then calling out for help, and then Toga, like not because of what Utena wanted, because Utena didn't want him to go and swim, but he was like, I need to do it, and she's like, no, you do it, you're gonna drown or whatever. He goes and trying to save Juri, he drowns. Juri, I'm guessing, just forgets about it eventually or something. That's like the whole point of what happened in the show or whatever. But Shiori is permanently attached to what happened there because she was in love with Toga the whole time. That's why she's clinging to him throughout this entire movie, this like idea of him or whatever. and she like wants Juri to kind of remember this trauma forever and like forever be attached to the thing in her locket and like stay here forever because she is responsible for Toga's death. And then you've got Utena, who is also like traumatized by this, and essentially this is the whole Toga like core, which is that he's abused as a kid, and also at the same time, you know, he drowns and is the inciting incident for like all these relationships here or trauma.
It was like a pond. Why he drown? What is he fucking stupid? Now, also, Leary, when Shiori initially brought that up, I said, "Oh yeah, she's talking about that blue-haired guy. That's crazy."
The Ruka guy from the TV show.
His name wasn't Ruka in the sub, Leary. It was something else, but true, that guy.
Oh wow. Yep.
Because he died. Remember? That was upsetting.
I do remember
and
that,
she loved him.
I thought he was going to be, you know, at the beginning where they're like, oh, there's a prince or whatever. Not you, Utena. There's another prince. I thought it was going to be him, but it was Juri, I guess. So
No. Yes, we love Juri here.
Yes. All right. I'm glad we pieced all that together. Now, do you have any other notes? Because I have notes, but if you have anything.
I haven't gone through any of my notes. Actually, I think I said my second and third note. Now, my first note, leader, is very important. It said, Sega again.
Is that in the credits at the beginning? I wasn't paying too much attention.
Yeah, at the beginning, Sega popped up just like the end of Evangelion.
Oh my goodness. The video game companies.
What the freaking hell is Sega doing? Sonic wasn't in this movie.
That is one thing I'm pretty sure that there is like an Utena video game. I'm fairly sure that's a thing. So who knows?
On the PS1 or something, that would be epic.
Yeah, maybe.
But true. But also, Sega probably didn't make that. They just put money in for this thingy or something, probably. But anyway, maybe it was a Dreamcast exclusive, Alita. You know about the Dreamcast?
Yeah, I know what you mean. The Sega Dreamcast, right?
Yeah. Now, I don't know if the Dreamcast was like a mid-90s one or a late 90s one. I don't fucking know Sega in chronological order, Alita. But, you know, anyway. Second and third notes we went over, Alita. Toga and Utena lovers. This was when I was going to bring up the manga, Leader. Don't worry, we already did that. They kiss for real. That's very insightful. Toga rape backstory. That's very insightful. Bro, it's portrait of a lady on fire. That's very insightful. Nanami and Choo-Choo and the male stooges on a videotape. And that thing Shiori drew on Toga killed Choo-Choo. True, what was that about, Aliri?
Yeah, it was
a crocodile looking thing.
I think the idea would be that it's like, you've got Anthe and her like kind of animal, which is Choo-Choo, and then you've got Shiori, who is the opposite of Anthe, and you've got her like animal that is eating Choo-Choo. Her whatever.
Evil animal, that no good animal.
So it's like while Shiori is trying to drag back Anthe back into the school, you've got Shiori is kind of drawing, kind of trying to attack Choo-Choo at the same time. Yeah,
makes sense. But also, there was the Shadow Girl also got broken up with because she was drawing on her boyfriend's back, Alita. So, you know, that ties into that.
Piece that at all. That's true. That is a thing they do.
Oh, first thing I thought of when I saw that. But true. Anyway, why did Miki ask who Toga was? True, he did do that at some point, but it's because he was a ghost or something.
Damn, that makes sense. I didn't even pick that up, but that would make sense.
Why? I'm trying to remember the context to which Miki asked this, where he was standing, what he was doing. Somebody says the name, I think, and he goes, Toga? Who's Toga? Maybe it was Juri, because Juri was part of the backstory, apparently. Then I have written out, go guy, go guy, go guy!
They do say that.
They said it a bunch of times in this movie.
There was one bit where there were like 10 of them, and they were like walking across the screen or something, and they were like, extra, extra. And I'm like, oh my god, that's a thing. Crazy.
It's true. That's true. They also did the other one too, though.
Yeah. Wait, we skipped over we haven't really touched on it all. The scene where they're in the pool and all the girls are like scrubbing the pool, and it's like going back and forth, and I thought that was great.
That's like Die Buster. Remember when they did that in Die Buster? Leary doesn't remember.
I don't remember a single thing about the show.
They all bullied Momo when they were doing the when they were doing the thingy. She wasn't a mech yet. Well, actually, she was a mech the whole time, but you know they didn't know that yet, that she was the savior of the whole fucking world, Leary, and they should show some fucking respect. Right. And then I think she left because she got bullied, and then Lilac had to go after her.
Yes.
No matter how good Revolutionary Girl Utena is, Leary, I'll tell you it's no fucking Die Buster. I'll tell you that much. Now, if we had a whole series with Anthe Himimiya from the movie, then I don't know. Maybe we should make some inroads, Leary. But until then, shut up about it. Now, Leary, let me ask you a question you don't know the answer to at all. This production thingy, B Papas or whatever, that's what the team that made Utena was called or something, I believe. I think they only ever made Utena, right? That's pretty sad.
What a great question that actually I do know something about it, which is that when I was reading the Wikipedia page for this movie, in the intro it did say like B Papa's production, but it didn't say production company. It said like associated group of artists or something. I was like, what? And then I hovered over the page and it said like production company. I was like, why'd they write this? But
only the greatest artists, and they all hated each other, Alita, because they're such great artists, and the one thing they got to make was the great art that is Revolutionary Girl Utena. That's what I'm going with.
Wonderful. True.
But also it was JC staff or something. That's somebody I've heard of.
My understanding is like the stuff at the beginning of the movie, the credits would be the production committee, so the people who like fund it. I don't know who actually.
I'm pretty sure on Mal it says JC staff.
What is Mal? My goodness, Jesus.
Let me go to my enemy list and find out right now, Leadery. So you better find out something to speak about for the next 20 seconds or so.
So we can say, oh my god, it was crazy. There were sheets from a bed and they twisted and they into a cocoon and then Shiori became a butterfly.
It was a cabbage. It was a cabbage and then it was a cocoon, Leadery.
Yeah, and then
there were little girls.
Well, Shiori turned into a butterfly that was going on top of cabbages or something. It was crazy. I have no idea.
And then there was a moth too at some point.
No, it was a butterfly. What do you mean? You always think butterflies are moths for some reason.
There was a moth.
You said that last time, and it was not a moth. It was a butterfly.
You don't know what a moth is.
You don't know what a butterfly is.
Ever heard of Mothim, the Pokemon?
No, I've heard of
Beautyfly, the Pokemon is a butterfly. Not to be confused with Butterfree, the Pokemon. But then there's Mothim, Leadery, and that's a moth Pokemon.
Excellent. Have you found?
And on Mal it says JC staff under studio or something.
And on Wikipedia it says production company JC staff. So there we go.
Yep. Let's see what else they made, Leadery. Now, how do we for not new
One Punch Man? What do you mean?
Oh, well, that fucking sucks. I don't want to watch that shit.
Yep. Well, JC stuff's like a massive company. Yeah, it's like a very well-known like production company.
Yeah, I know a Leadery. That's why I was trying to figure out because
you're a fool. How did you not know that? Like they've made like One Punch Man season 3 famously, One Punch Man season 2 famously.
They didn't even make the good ones. Embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly.
The rest of this shit I don't know. Oh, Food Wars.
True.
And Dungeon something, but not Dungeon Meshi. This is sorted by what do you call it? Members Leader. Konosuba Leader. That's your favorite show.
No, it's not. I don't really like that much. It's fine.
The rest of this is whatever. I don't know, Leadery. Anime's lame. They should have just made Revolutionary Girl Utena forever.
Well, I'm glad they stopped making Utena because now they can make it again, you know? They can make it remake.
Now we don't have to watch any more, Leadery, and that's always good.
Yes. All right.
Back to my notes, Leadery. Fuck your notes. We got, I already said that. Akio is fucking dead, Leadery. He was buried under the school, and his fiance was in the movie. Could you believe it?
I could believe it, yeah. And
he was just the chairman in this, I think.
Well, he was the the acting chairman or something, which I think he was also in the movie. I mean, the TV show.
No, I swear in this one it just said chairman.
It did at some point, but then later on it said acting chairman, so I couldn't tell what was happening. Or maybe it was like a flashback. Like maybe now he is the chairman, but in the past he was the acting chairman or something.
Well, now he's fucking dead.
Well, the point is that now they didn't know he was dead, but they thought he was the chairman still, which shows how irrelevant he was.
True, but then he showed up at the end.
Yeah, but he wasn't actually there, because just like that road isn't actually there. It's all symbolic.
No, that's what the outside world really looks like.
Well, the outside world looks like an absolute Destiny apocalypse, which is the song, which is kind of cool. Except there are blue skies behind the clouds, which is awesome.
And there's pretty lesbian girls kissing on a motorbike or something.
That's right. They're going to make their own roads.
They're going to make their own love, Leadery. Oh, that reminds me, because we're doing apocalypses, so I nearly made an Adam and Eve joke. At some point, the twins made me think of Adam and Eve, because they were talking about returning to their garden or something, Leadery. So get Jockey Bacon on the phone. He'll tell us how Miki and Kose are actually Adam and Eve. So they're allowed to have sex in that bath, Leadery. It's okay.
Right, yep. It is crazy though.
Incest?
Like it is the most incest like obviously the anti stuff in the TV show is more, but like it is like they're just like in the bath together. I mean, it is weird, isn't it? It has to be like intentionally weird. It's not just like a thing that they do in Japan where like siblings just bath together, right?
I bath all the time with my 15-year-old female twin.
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't have a female twin, so I can't tell you, but felt a bit weird.
You're missing out, Leadery.
Yep.
All the sex we're having over here.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I got 3 more notes, Leary. Toga was the drowning boy. The school was purgatory. Well, we already talked about that. Songkyu, Utena Ka on God. True. Yep. And my last note is Wakabaka. What a great combination of notes, Leary.
Yes. Well, we can talk about the final act, because I have a whole section on that. And it's me just basically listing all the cool stuff that happens. But the car wash eats Utena, and then we get like the intense remix of Absolute Destiny Apocalypse, and she transforms into a car. Awesome. We get the room.
Now you got to remake that video you just made about the best transformation sequence in anime.
True.
There's a new one.
Yeah, it is really impressive. We get a room filled with shadow people with pink hair, and it turns out they're all straw men. Oh my god, crazy. What does it mean? Who knows?
That's what you debate, Leadery, you idiot loser idiot.
Yes, true. No, I only debate steel men because I am such a good argumenter. I don't
True, like a car, like steel.
Yeah. Now I'm curious.
What's the difference between steel and metal, I wonder?
Steel is a type of metal.
What?
That's right. It's a combination of a bunch of different elements that are also metals, I think. And it's an
What's
alloy,
an
you could
alloy?
say. Well, the steel is an alloy.
I know everything about science, leader. How about you retire?
See, I could be completely wrong, but this is my understanding at least. But yes.
And there's Adam.
Yeah, Adam and Eve, or Adam from Evangelion, true.
Not Adam and Steve. Not Eve and Eve.
That's a good one.
Revolutionary Girl Utena, I'll tell you that.
Yep. I have an important question.
I watched a YouTube video, and it said Anthe is named after a Greek lady that was called Anthe, that was the goddess of roses. And her brother was Zeus, and she was fucking her brother.
Well, that just tracks perfectly with Utena, doesn't it? Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. And Zeus is evil or something. That's why we killed him.
See, this is part of my issue that I've always had with Utena, which is that there's symbols like this that I just am completely ignorant to. That would like clearly inform my reading, but I just don't know about them.
Let me tell you until these things start talking about colors, Lyric. Did you know that orange is like the color of the sunset? And
true.
That means
I actually had a thought about this when I was watching this movie, because I was like, oh, there's like a white rose here. What does that mean? And I thought, oh, roses, that's like innocence, and but it's also surrender. And so it also means you're like a weakling, like a loser. Okay, yeah, true. That's also a thing.
And also it gave her the ring, right? And the prince has white hair when he gives her the ring.
Not only does it give the ring, but it makes the water sound. Remember that? From the
true.
Yeah, it was cool. But
wait, it was like bubbles at some point.
I got my important question here. Wait a minute. You're dodging my question, which is that, firstly, you watched the sub, right?
Of course.
Good. So in the dub, there's a point where Shiori she's a car, and she says, it's a big mistake to assume you're the only one who can turn into a car. I'm a car now, too.
True.
She did say that in the sub. It's not just like a dub insertion thing. Okay.
It was epic.
It was crazy, yeah. I thought this is funny.
That was very arrogant of Utena to assume.
True.
How come Utena couldn't talk as a car?
Because she was just caged in her trauma. You know, there was nothing she could say. But she broke through at the end, and then she...
No, because this movie's about Anthe Humir, and that Utena bitch can shut the fuck up.
That's right. All right. The student council helps out Anthe by yoinking her car.
There was one scene where Anthe looked white.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
She doesn't have glasses. Are you mixing that up? She didn't have any glasses?
No, she looked white or something. It was funny.
All right, well.
But then remember, one time Anthe was a white boy.
No, he basically looked the exact same, but male.
What?
Anthe looked the exact same, but it was male. And that was the difference.
No,
I don't think they were white.
Pretending to be that little white boy?
I don't know. I don't think they were white. Oh, no, I know what you mean. You're saying, like, before, in the actual true recollection, he was a white boy. I understand. It's very funny, Kyle. Very funny. Yeah.
You catch up sometimes. It's okay.
Yep.
You said something about...
I said,
There was no student council song. That was upsetting.
There was what song?
There was no student council song. They even did the thing where the elevator, like, closed like it does in the show, and they didn't play the song.
That's right.
It's a 9.5 out of 10.
Yep. Okay. I loved...
Our friendship won the day, Alita. That was a good point you were bringing up.
Well, they just say that, and it was awesome. It was very cute. I love the scene where the student council saves her, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. They're
all smiling and stuff.
Yeah, and apparently Wakaba was too, and I had no idea, so awesome.
I mean, that's what they say.
I just loved, like, the whole last section of seeing how dedicated Anthe is to escaping. I like that. It was just nice. It was like, oh, she's like
trying very hard.
Yeah, exactly. And the opening's playing. I think I wrote it down on my notes here that it's playing while she's just trying to escape. I'm like, oh, so cool. We like the opening. And then, yeah, of course, Akio is the final obstacle. And they say, grant me the power to revolutionize the world. And the world is an actual apocalypse. Oh my god, that's crazy. And then we get the credits song at the end.
That was just a metaphor.
Well, I mean, yeah, the whole world is a metaphor. And in this case, the metaphor of the visual of the world is that it is it's a dark place, but we can build a nice place for us. We can build new roads.
They can build a road, they said. A road, Alidori.
Indeed.
Now, and there was a bunch of cars that looked like petrified or something, that looked like the cars that were chasing them. So is that like the remnants of the last person that escaped or something?
Yeah, probably. There were probably like millions of people who have tried to escape and...
Whoa, what does that mean?
Who knows? We'll have to wait for a sequel.
That's a good point.
2.0. It'd be great.
Adulthood of Utena, the next movie.
That would be really interesting. But it's never going to happen. It's so sad. Because, what was it? Not JC stuff. D-Poppers, they don't exist anymore, I'm sure. So, we'll never get them again.
They're all freaking dead.
Yep. Now, let me see. What have I actually got in my miscellaneous notes? Nanami and Chuchu, we talked about them. Wakaba with her onion prince. Utena becoming the princess. What is this? Oh, no, I already talked about that. Akio dies. And similar... Oh, I have like a bunch of similar motifs. So, like the white rose... We talked about the white rose already. The arena itself exists, but is like different looking. There was a point in the movie, like near the beginning, where I wasn't quite sure if we were like connected to the TV series, where I was like, I remember at the end of that TV series, the dual arena kind of fell down. And it seemed that at the beginning, like it got destroyed basically, and it seemed like at the beginning of this movie, do you remember that bridge at the end of that show where Utena was like trying to save Anthe and she was walking on that bridge, if you know what I mean, with all the swords? Remember that bit?
At the very end?
Yeah, the very end.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I think the first time we see the arena in this movie, it looks a lot like that. Where I had the question, I was like, oh, maybe this is the same arena, but the arena has crumbled away and all that's left is the bridge. But I couldn't quite tell. I don't know. I think it implied that.
I would have to see these comparison pictures side by side.
As would I if I was making a good point, but yeah. And
oh my god, there was a Sega Saturn video game and a stage musical for Revolutionary Girl Utena. Can you believe you're just so intelligent and smart?
Yep. You know why I know there's a video game? Because I remember when I was first trying to watch Utena, I didn't know where to watch it. Like, it wasn't available anywhere. So I went to YouTube and I typed in, like, Utena, episode 1. And he gave me, like, this episode 1 playthrough of a game. And I was like, this isn't the show.
Let's play.
Like, yeah, it was like some weird, like, all the characters were dancing and, like, a...
What's up, everybody? Here we are.
No, it was like a silent, like, playthrough thing or something.
Oh, it was a long play.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was weird. But that's it. That's all my notes.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
I know one
more. It was
more.
only 85 minutes, Alita. It wasn't a very long movie out here.
Well, apparently it was long, falling asleep midway through. But you know what? For me, a veteran movie watcher, I stayed awake the whole time. I watched it all the way through in one sitting. It was very engaging.
So you're going to watch all 3.5 hours of The Godfather 2 so we can talk about it soon, Alita?
Probably not, but I will one day.
What about all 3 hours and 40 minutes of The Irishman? That's like the best movie ever.
Yeah, they use like CGI to make him look younger. I can't wait. I'm excited for that. I love CGI.
No. Don't. We ignore that discourse when we talk about that movie.
Yep. One final note I have for the gamers out there. This had a lot of visual imagery that reminded me a lot of Elden Ring. So just keep that in mind, everyone.
Elden Ring's lame, and we all know that stole from Berserk 2, just like this movie.
Yeah, but how cool would it be if it was also inspired by Utena? Wouldn't that just be the coolest thing ever?
No, we already got Madoka Magica that was inspired by Utena, and what else did we say? We said something else funny.
Well, there's a very clear inspiration by one of Tatsuki Fujimoto's works, which is Naito of the Prophecy, when all the swords are flying around the earth, and it looks exactly like the swords in the TV show from Utena.
No. Fujimoto doesn't copy things, Alita. Except that one time he copied Monsters, Inc. That was like the coolest thing anybody's ever done.
Yep. You know, he's seen I Saw the TV Glow. Isn't that like the craziest thing ever? That's just my favorite like fun fact about Fujimoto.
No, he's seen all the cool movies that we wish we had seen.
True.
But that movie wasn't that cool. It was just okay.
Yeah, but isn't it weird to think about how Fujimoto was seen that movie? I don't know why. It's like such a weird movie.
It seems entirely appropriate.
I guess. I don't know why, but it feels so modern. I don't know. It's weird, but cool. Anyway.
He goes to the theater all the time. And it's nice that he's going to be fixing his work coming up soon. So.
Yeah, how exciting. Anything else you want to say about Utena as a whole, the Utena movie, the Utena TV show?
Alita, I found this great Sega Saturn game because I was on the director's Wikipedia page here. He didn't direct anything after Revolutionary Girl Utena. That's very upsetting, huh?
Wait, but he has the penguin, whatever. Everyone says it's like some penguin.
Until he came back in 2011, Alita. If you'd helped me set up my jokes a bit better, you wouldn't be such a terrible co-host, Alita. When he came back with Panda Grundagrum. I've never heard of this show. Are we watching this one next?
I would be interested. Because I have, obviously it is like, everyone says like, he is a very abstract director, and whatever you think is abstract in Utena would also be abstract in that show. I thought it was like some penguin thing. I don't know why. Does it look like penguin when it's written down? I don't know.
Well, it says it's called Penguin Drum, but this lady has a penguin outfit, but I don't think it's about penguins.
Yeah, I would be open to watching this. I would be curious just to see like, what is this?
Oh my god, they're in harsh silhouettes over here.
Oh
my goodness, just like Revolutionary Girl Utena. 2007, did it just say?
Oh no, it's like a Diebuster situation. It's not gonna be good. Oh, no.
2011. Diebuster came out in 2004. You always think it's 2007.
Yeah, but like imagine the time gap between Gunbuster and Diebuster. It's probably the same for Utena in this show.
Yeah, and they finally got good by then and made a good TV series.
Yeah, true.
But it was actually 2011, Aliri, so it's a modern anime.
That's good. That's like Samurai Champloo and Hunter x Hunter. We love that. All right.
Ugh.
Anyway. All right, I guess you got nothing. That's it.
It also seems like he did a bunch of stuff after that. He's currently writing this manga. He released something which is a series produced something. Yeah, he direct a compilation film of that penguin thing we were just talking about. In 2022, He announced the changing of his name to. He changed his name to Bonjour Ikuru.
Hell yeah!
Later revealing it to be a synonym for Tiki Bon Bon, a music project with something. I don't know what's going on, Aliri.
This is an artist, okay? That's one thing we know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, sometimes, and he also did Sailor Moon, Illyri.
And also, if the Reddit threads are anything to go by, when I would occasionally read the episode by episode threads, he has like on the DVD like a commentary, like I think he gives like a paragraph or so like opinion on each episode or something, which is always interesting to read.
It's like Fujimoto and those one shots he did.
Yeah, I have not read anything about that, but maybe.
Oh, true. You watched that shitty anime.
I did, yeah, and I read the manga, but
Anime's for bad people. Let's read the Revolutionary Girl Utena manga, Illyri. Let's watch Toga and Utena fall in love.
yeah, that would be really weird.
Mm,
All right.
true. That's the end of our whole series, Illyri.
Yep, we're done. Thank you everyone for watching. You know, if you are here, you have the opportunity to leave a comment and say, I want you guys to discuss this next. You have a lot of power, okay? So please, you lone commenter out there, you gotta put something down there that you want us to watch. And we'll put it in consideration for our many things that we are considering. But
I'll consider it.
Yes, that's it everyone. Thanks for watching. And I guess see you never again, potentially. Or we'll see you next week or next time or whenever that is.
Tuesday.
Yep, bye-bye.